right, everyone. So real quick before this episode of the podcast starts, I wanted to let you all know that this episode, just like last week's episode, is going to be a bit short as well, but not as short as last week's episode because I actually didn't rush through and try to do this one. So yes, but I don't think you guys care. I've got no comments or anything that anyone cares, so yeah. And I realize this, like last week's episode, may not have been the most exciting of episodes because I kind of think some these episodes recently have been kind of boring, but that might just be me. But yeah, I'm not a very exciting guy. I don't do a lot of exciting things, so I just talk about random shit that I hear, see, or otherwise. So I hope you guys find this episode interesting anyway. And with that being said, let's get on with the episode. Okay, I'm done. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Anything and Everything podcast, episode 35. So, last week's episode was quite a bit late coming out, but like I said, I had a bit of a mishap with some water. Only after what I learned came from a broken pipe, but that's a whole different story that I don't want to get into right now because it'll take up too much time, and then I'll start complaining, and then it'll take even more time, and then you get what I mean. So to start off this episode, I thought I would start off with a rather strange, I guess it's strange at this point, probably nothing strange anymore, story that I heard, what was it, 2 days ago? A day ago? It actually happened last year, but I'll get to it. So I heard this story of this 64-year-old photographer and this 22-year-old model. And what they basically did was they basically walked into a mall, as in a actual mall, while it was still open and there were metric shit tons of people around. And they basically did a nude photo shoot in a mall with other people around. Probably children as well, which is why I'm surprised it turned out differently than it did. The 64-year-old man was supposedly a photographer, which I'll explain why I used parentheses for that in a moment. And the 22-year-old was supposedly a model, or claims she is a model, in, I believe it was Monroeville, Pennsylvania, which is, they said is like, what was it, like 20 or 30 some odd miles from Pittsburgh. Went into a mall there and whoosh, apparently walked around the mall in front of everybody while the pervy old man was taking pictures in the name of photography. I, as a single 23-year-old man, don't give a flying fuck. I'm actually okay with that. And if the circumstances were different, I might be inclined to look up some pictures for scientific purposes. But due to the circumstances, I don't really care anymore. So it's not the fact that she did a nude photo shoot, as I've stated before in other videos. I don't give a flying fuck. It's the fact of how she did it and where they did it. The fact that they had the photo shoot in a mall that they knew had people in there, probably children as well. They knew the mall was open. They knew the mall was full of people, which leads me to believe that they had ulterior motives for doing this, especially since she claimed her modeling career was honest work, and she was using it to pay for her college stuff. Which, all right. If that's what she wants to do to help pay for college stuff, sure. I think we all know college is incredibly
One eternity later.
incredibly expensive. I'm sure anyone out there who's gone to college knows that. And that's not also I also don't have a problem with that. But I do think considering the fact that both of them knew the mall had people in it, because as I've stated before, you'd be surprised at some of the crazy shit people do for popularity, attention, and publicity, aka to make themselves, aka to make people think they're cool. People will do all kinds of crazy shit. So maybe the guy was an actual photographer, and they just made a very poor choice of venue to do their photo shoot. Probably because they didn't want to have to talk to somebody to get a permit to maybe do it legally. Which all they had to do, they could have at least asked the mall people, hey, we want to do a nude photo shoot. Is there any chance we possibly could? Like after hours, when the mall's closed. They didn't do that. They wanted to do it in front of everybody, apparently. She just wanted to walk around naked in front of fuck tons of people, I guess. That's the only reason I can think of. I'm trying to think of the reason why they decided to do it in a crowded ass mall. People who are out shopping in a mall probably don't want to see a naked woman walking around said mall, despite what you might think. If I were to tell them advice, I'd advise them to be lucky they didn't get both put on the sex offender registry, which they probably could have been put on the sex offender registry, and no questions would have been asked. They wouldn't have thought twice. Trust me. I'm sure there are plenty of women on the sex offender registry. As far as I know, they were only charged with she was only charged with indecent exposure and disorderly conduct, which I don't know if that means, and I don't know what they charged him with. So, yeah, the only reason I have a problem with it is the fact that they were in a mall with people in it. The fact that she was running around naked in front of other people. That's what I have a problem with. May I suggest to Miss Guerrera that she next time choose more private locations to do a nude photo shoot. Okay, so we're moving on from that. And I don't want anyone to think I'm slut shaming or like trying to like tell this woman what to do with herself. I'm just saying, don't take nude photos in a mall where there are quite literally dozens to hundreds of other people around. So I wanted to briefly talk about my birthday because I'm an egotistical maniac.
And I crave positive attention.
So my birthday was last week on Tuesday, March the 6th. I am now 23, and to be honest, it didn't really mean much to me. It just made me realize how much older I'm getting, which is definitely reassuring. I want to be reassured how old I'm getting. I'm not old! Okay, no, I'm kidding. 23 is not that old. So yeah, it just wasn't very exciting because I don't know if it's me or the fact that I'm 23 and the fact that I don't know if people who are in their 20s get excited about birthdays anymore, but it was just a normal day for me. And the only thing really exciting that happened to me was I tried to go fishing on my birthday to a nearby lake that I have near me because it was actually somewhat warm enough to go fishing that day. And not only did I not catch any fish, nor did I manage to even cast my line out far enough, but I don't know if you guys can see that, but I sliced the ever-loving fuck out of my finger on some fishing line. You guys can only see it partially because I can't turn my hand 360 degrees to get a good view because I'm not a fucking owl. But yeah, I basically sliced the ever-loving fuck out of my finger with some fishing line because that shit's sharp as fuck. Sharper than you might think. My parents are those parents that still want to do something for my birthday. They still want to get me something for my birthday. But hey, they're my parents, so of course. But at this point, just like the average 20-something, my only interest is money. So that's what they gave me. And I'm actually saving that money, and I'm going to use it to buy a much better camera than the one you're currently watching me through. So I'm gonna try to get an upgraded camera here soon. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, hopefully these video portions will look better. I kind of want to get a camera that's good with low light. I like how this just segued into cameras. I just did a topic segue into cameras. I kind of want to get a camera that's good with low light. They say that the lower megapixel count your camera is, technically the better in low light it is. But unfortunately, my EOS Rebel T3 camera is not very good with low light, at least in video mode. It's not a video type camera, but I wanted a camera with video mode, and this was the cheapest I could find at the time. But thankfully I have a much higher budget this time around. So I'm hopefully going to get something that's better with low light video, because as you can see, I'm just using the lighting I currently have, which is not very good, which is why video portions always look bleh. But I feel like people care more. I feel like people can excuse the bad video. I'm sure they'd rather have good audio. I'm not using a prime lens, so that also degrades the quality. I'm using the kit lens, which is average. I also want one of those cameras with a articulating screen, with a flip screen, so I can actually see what the fuck I'm doing without having to literally suck my battery dry using a separate third-party program. For my final topic, I wanted to do a topic on some movies that I'm going to try to check out later this month. So the first one, which I actually saw the trailer for like a month ago, is actually a Wes Anderson film, if I'm getting him not mixed up with, the guy who did, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, and most famously Grand Budapest Hotel. But the only film from him that I've ever seen is Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was a good film, or I thought it was good. And he's coming out with another film called Isle of Dogs, which is his second animated film. It's done in the same style as Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's a tongue twister. And I don't know. It just looks. I've always wanted to watch one of his films. Ever since I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox, I've always wanted to check out one of his films, but never got around to it. And this one's coming out in theaters, I think March 28th or something. So I think that'll be
Spring break.
I think. But unfortunately, that also coincides with the movie Ready Player One, which is being directed by probably one of, if not my favorite film director of all time, Steven Spielberg. Because Steven Spielberg is the same guy who directed Jurassic Park, which is one of my favorite movies of all time because I like dinosaurs. So I think they're both coming out on the 28th. So that's going to be kind of hard. But I think I'm going to see Isle of Dogs first. And then I'll go back and see Ready Player One at a later date. I just think both of those films look like they'll be pretty good. I was about to call myself a hipster for going to see a Wes Anderson film, but would that be a correct assumption? I know they came out with that a sequel to The Strangers, or whatever it is, which only took them 10 years. So I don't know how well that's done so far. I'll have to look it up. Strangers Pray at Night, which looks like it might be all right. It probably won't be nearly as good as the original Strangers. One of my favorite 21st century horror films, or one of my favorite films that has come out within the last 18 years. I thought The Strangers was good, as I said before, but so yes, it might be all right. I'll have to look at the ratings to see what other people have said. Plus, you can't go wrong with a good slasher flick every now and then. I think a good old slasher flick is good every once in a while. But on the other hand, I've seen a trailer for that really bad looking one. What is it? Truth or Dare or some shit like that. It's one of those PG-13 horror films. Which in my opinion, only a few of those have worked out. Like The Grudge and The Ring. Those are the only two PG-13 rated horror films, in my opinion, that have ever worked out. Because making a horror film PG-13 takes away all the blood and violent deaths
and gore and blood splatter and guts and blood and massacre and mayhem.
But hey, that's just me. And the trailer makes it worse. Because there's like there's a portion in the film where one of the characters dares the other.
I dare you to sleep with him.
Do people actually dare each other to do that in real life? Or did the filmmakers just want to sneak in a PG-13 acceptable sex scene just to draw in the high schoolers? Which is probably why they did it. Because I don't know if people actually, I don't think people dare each other to do that in real life. Unless it's some sort of weird role play thing. I don't know. I'm just saying that that movie looks bad as shit. But then again, so did Unfriended. I didn't watch Unfriended either. Of course, Unfriended, there was no way Unfriended was going to stand up to It. Now, quite literally, the highest grossing horror film of all time. But yeah, Truth or Dare just looks real fucking bad. Real fucking bad. And I guess, what is it, Hasbro or whatever has a trend of, let's make a horror film off of fucking party games. What's next? What's next? Twister, the horror film? That'd be a good film to make if you were going to do a film where you make it just as intentionally bad as possible. That actually gives me an idea. I kind of want to do that now as a short film. So I don't know how they're going to do horror movie kills on a PG-13 rating. But you know what? Whatever. This is obviously a film where the sole intention is just to make as much money as possible. So I think that'll do it for this episode of the podcast. And if you guys like this episode, you guys on SoundCloud can like the track, comment on the track, replay the track, and you guys on YouTube can thumbs up the video, thumbs down the video, comment on the video, whatever you want to do. I don't care. And I will see you guys in next week's episode.